entrapment, suggesting someone into something they wouldn't otherwise do. And if you think that some of that isn't going on with gender in schools, you're not watching enough TikTok videos.
I pledge allegiance to the queers.
I'm not allowed to be out as trans non-binary at school. My response to this is to be as obnoxiously queer as possible.
Bill Maher seemingly has gotten the message that he has been way too far woke for way too long, and now that Bill Maher's audience is starting to wise up to the fact that not only Bill Maher but also everyone who's in Bill Maher's audience has been way too woke for way too long, and it just doesn't make sense anymore to be on that side of things. It's a losing battle. You're fighting a battle when you don't have facts or logic or evidence or anything, science on your side of things. You don't have it. So what's the point of fighting the battle when you're just going to eventually lose unless you use dirty tactics and try to throw your political opponents in jail and stuff like that? That's the only way you're going to win. And it seems like Bill Maher is starting to wake up to that fact, and he's just going straight up. It seems like he dedicated an entire episode of Real Time with Bill Maher yesterday to just demolishing the left wing and kind of propping up a lot of, right-wing people, Republicans, and anti-woke people. These tweets here, a couple of tweets here from the Vigilant Fox. This one says, Bill Maher issues wake-up call to all Democrats who think the NPR story is not a big deal. NPR is to them, which is Republicans, what this country would be if it was a permanent Democratic governorship. Of the 87 people working in editorial positions there, 87 are Democrats. Even if you're a Democrat, you can't think this is good. Let's check out this clip here from Real Time with Bill Maher.
There's not a big effort on the left to understand what they are talking about, because I don't think it's insincere on their part. I think they think we're going to hell in a handcart. And one reason I think that is because the story that came out this week about NPR. NPR is to them what this country would be if it was a permanent Democratic governorship. And if you missed the story on NPR, it's pretty interesting. A guy named Uri Berliner came out. He wrote it. He'd been there for a long time, 25 years. This guy, by the way, went to Sarah Lawrence and was raised by a lesbian peace activist. So he's
very, very Sean Hannity. Yeah.
Very Sean Hannity. He said, I've been at NPR for 25 years. Here's how we lost America's trust. And it's just about how this place, which, the show was called, the big show was called All Things Considered. It's not all things considered. He's not wrong. And he pointed out, for example, that of the 87 people working in editorial positions there, 87 are Democrats. Even if you're a Democrat, you can't think this is good.
That's something that I never thought would come out of Bill Maher's mouth. I mean, that's not an extremely anti-woke thing to say. That's a very commonsensical thing to say. But as we've been following with the stories like Anna Kasparian and a lot of other people who have been turning away from the woke side of things, like Joe Rogan and Russell Brand and even Bill Maher on a lot of different subjects. Now, obviously, Bill Maher is still woke on a lot of different things, but as time goes on, there's no doubt that Bill Maher is starting to wake up and make his audience wake up as well for certain subjects, and that's one of them. You're not allowed to exercise common sense if you want to truly be a part of the woke cult, and you're damn sure not allowed to say things like he says in this clip right here. This one is wild, and I'm going to have to bleep out a few things that he says, because this is something that the left has been trying to say isn't happening for the longest time. These couple of clips that I'm going to show you right here are some of the things that they try to deny the most, and it's probably the most dangerous and most disgusting things that are happening, and Bill Maher is actually addressing it head on, which is shocking to me. This one is also from the Vigilant Fox. It says, Bill Maher issues stunning reality check that every Democrat needs to hear. DeSantis wasn't wrong. It must be pointed out that when the evil governor of Florida was saying the exact same thing about kids and creepy stuff at Disney that liberals now find intolerable at Nickelodeon, DeSantis wasn't wrong. But we're so tribal now that we overlooked, or the left will overlook, child effing if the guy from the wrong party calls it out. Let's check out this clip here from Real Time with Bill Maher.
It must be pointed out that when the evil governor of Florida was saying the exact same thing about kids and creepy stuff at Disney that liberals now find intolerable, DeSantis wasn't wrong. But we're so tribal now, the left will overlook child fucking if the guy from the wrong party calls it out.
That's just wild to hear from Bill Maher, because he is one of those people that has been tribal for the longest time. And I've been someone who thought, like, you know, if you're brainwashed by the woke crowd, like, you're never going to come back. You know, it's just not going to happen, especially if you have an audience that is also brainwashed. You're probably not going to come back. But it's happening more and more often as time goes on. You know, people who have any sort of common sense within their brain, they're leaving the woke side behind and you know, coming over to the red-pilled side. Thought that I would hear from Bill Maher. Straight up. I never thought that I would hear him. And he goes further into it here in 1 second, too, where he's calling out the left, trying to protect these people who are doing bad things, you know, and sometimes to children, which is the most disgusting thing ever to me. But it's something that the left, for some reason, has been trying to ignore and sweep under the rug and act like it isn't happening. But it's happening. This one is from Eric Abinante, and I'm not going to read this whole paragraph, but it continues his crusade, Bill Maher's crusade against gender identity politics and, you know, just going against the woke side of things. And then we also have one more clip where he talks about the same thing he talked about in the last clip, where with the child, you know, the things that are happening to children, the trans story hours and drag queen story hours or whatever the hell they're doing nowadays. Just disgusting. Let's check out this one more clip here from Real Time with Bill Maher, and then the grand finale clip.
And contrary to current progressive dogma, children aren't miniature adults wise beyond their years. They're morons. They're gullible morons who'll believe anything and just want to please grown-ups. And they don't have any frame of reference. So they normalize whatever's happening. That's why endlessly talking about gender to 6-year-olds isn't just inappropriate. It's what the law would call entrapment, which means enticing people into doing something they wouldn't ordinarily do. For example, after 9/11, there were several cases of overzealous federal agents leading sad losers into terrorist plots, like the undercover FBI agent who got 7 out-of-work dudes in Liberty City, Florida, to sign on to a plot to bomb the Sears Tower in Chicago. Oh, please, these guys didn't even have a gun.
This is just, to me and you, this is common sense stuff, right? It's like, yeah, well, of course we shouldn't be teaching children about trans ideology and stuff like that all day, every day. But for someone like Bill Maher to say it, it's a lot more impactful because his entire audience, like I said earlier, is part of this woke cult. And if you're acknowledging things like this, you are not allowed inside of the woke cult. So you know there's a huge portion of Bill Maher's audience who religiously watches his podcast, Club Random, who religiously watches Real Time with Bill Maher. Believe it or not, there are people out there that exist that do that. The huge portion of Bill Maher's audience are being alienated right now because they're saying, oh, this guy's not with me on every single woke talking point. He's my enemy now. You know, that's how these people's brains work. And Bill Maher knows this. So the fact that he's willing to speak out against these things that are happening, it's a good sign. I'm not saying he's red-pilled. I'm not saying he's not woke anymore. But I'm just saying he's moving in the right direction, it seems.
But when someone said, wouldn't it be cool if we taught the man a lesson and blew something up? They said, yeah, that would be kind of cool. Entrapment, suggesting someone into something they wouldn't otherwise do. And if you think that some of that isn't going on with gender in schools, you're not watching enough TikTok videos.
I pledge allegiance to the queers.
I'm not allowed to be out as trans non-binary at school. My response to this is to be as obnoxiously queer as possible.
There's a certain kind of activist these days who wants to take heterosexuality, old school, old-fashioned, boring, minding its own business heterosexuality, and lump it in with patriarchy and sexism and racism and tell kids, wouldn't it be cool if you were anything but that? It also seems to be the theme of kind of a lot of kids' books these days. I never used...
And it's predatory. Like, let's be real. This is predatory stuff. Like, why do you care so much about a child? Like, what sexuality a child is? Like, why do you care that much? That there's no other reason unless you're mentally ill and probably like one of the worst mental illnesses you could possibly have, if you get what I'm saying. You know, there's no other reason. You have to have something really, really messed up within your brain if you care that much about children's sexualities, that you're writing books about it and you're trying to act as queer as possible in the classroom because you're not allowed to straight up spread the propaganda that you want to spread. Like, there's something extremely wrong with you and you need to be in a mental hospital.
The phrase gay agenda because I thought it was mostly nonsense. And it is. Mostly. But a director for Disney Television Animation did say after she was hired,
the showrunners were super welcoming to like my like not at all secret gay agenda. Like I was just wherever I could, just basically adding queerness. No one would stop me and no one was trying to stop me.
Look, I'm all for adding queerness wherever. I put some in my drink before I came out here tonight. But maybe we should think about giving kids a break from our culture wars for a minute, or at least until the election is over.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree, not agree that I think we should put queerness wherever. I think it's just obnoxious. Like, be whatever you want to be. Just don't be it in my face is all I ask. But that's obviously never going to happen, right? We're not able to reason with these people. There's no reasoning with them. They're going to shove it down your throat, whether you like it or not. No matter how nicely you ask, no matter how polite you are, they're going to shove it down your throat. And then there's one more clip here from Real Time with Bill Maher. Like I said, it seemed like he dedicated an entire episode of Real Time with Bill Maher to just crapping all over the left and all of their talking points. This one's from Tim Young. It says, Bill Maher finally made the point that sane people have been making for years. Why would a drag queen want to perform for children? His left-leaning audience initially was silent and didn't know how to react. Let's check out this clip here from Real Time with Bill Maher.
Maybe it's time to admit that sometimes Drag Queen Story Hour is more for the queen than the kids. Sure, kids love a clown, but does the clown have to have tits? And when I see a 5-year-old tipping at a bar under a sign that says it's not going to lick itself, do I have to pretend that's cool in order to keep my liberal ID card?
Yes, the answer is yes. You're not allowed to exercise your common sensibility if you want to keep your liberal or woke ID card. Yes.
Sorry, I can't do that. If you want kids to be more tolerant, why not have handicapped people read them stories? Kids are more likely to encounter disabled people than drag queens in life. Maybe it's time to admit.
I just showed you 4 different clips from the same episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, and they were all just trashing on woke culture, trashing on the left. And it's cool to see, as more people are turning away and, Bill Maher and others are starting to see their careers are okay when they do turn away from the woke left. I think it's going to happen more and more. Because I refuse to believe that all of these people like Bill Maher and, maybe The View, they lack their common sense. Whoopi Goldberg and all of them, they lack common sense for sure. But the people like Bill Maher and Anna Kasparian and the rest of them, I think there's a large portion of them that do have common sense, that do see how ridiculous the left and the woke mob, woke cult has become. And they're just too scared to talk out against it a lot of the time because they don't want to, like Bill Maher said, lose their liberal ID card, lose their woke ID card. Now, Bill Maher's starting to speak out against this stuff, and it's really cool to see. It seems like he dedicated an entire episode to it. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking. Is Bill Maher actually waking up? Is he actually getting red-pilled, or is he just trying to maybe capitalize on the fact that the tide is turning so much in our favor? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about these couple of clips here from Real Time with Bill Maher. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and hope to see you guys on the next one. If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.